Can King Charles move on from all this trouble? Can he lead his country without people thinking about these bad stories? For a long time, the king has had to run away from many problems. He has had to deal with people saying mean things about his family. Over the last few years, he has had to listen to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle say very sad and angry things from their new home in the United States. It has been a very hard time for him and everyone in the big royal houses. It is now the start of the year 2026. The royal family is trying to feel better after a very messy year. It was a year full of fights and confusion. Just when they thought things were getting quiet, something new happened. It was like a giant wave hitting a small boat. A big secret came out that was so loud and so scary that it could change everything. People who work inside the big palaces are saying this news is the most shocking thing they have heard in a very long time. This secret is moving through the halls of Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle like a cold wind. Some people even say this secret might break the whole royal family. It is all about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He used to be a prince, but he lost his special jobs and his special names because of the bad things people said about him. Now, people are saying he might have known Meghan Markle in a way that nobody was ever supposed to find out. Out in the world, people are whispering. They are talking to each other and wondering if it is true. They think Meghan and Andrew might have met at very fancy parties a long time before Prince Harry even met Meghan. These were not just normal parties where people eat cake and play games. These were very special places for very rich and powerful people. Only a few people in the whole world are allowed to go to these places. People think they were both in the same rooms where big deals are made. Those who know what goes on inside the palace say the family tried very hard to keep this a secret for many years. But now, the walls are starting to break. The secrets are starting to peek out like little mice. It makes people feel worried. It is even more scary because of how King Charles and Princess Catherine are acting. They are staying behind closed doors and looking very serious. People think they know much more than they are telling us. The feeling in the palace is very tight and nervous. If Andrew really did know Meghan before Harry, it means many things the family told us might not be true. This would lead to many hard questions that nobody wants to answer. Some people think Harry did not even know that his wife and his uncle knew each other so well in the past. This story makes us look at everything we thought we knew about Meghan and the royal family in a new way. Things are about to get very serious. There is something very strange going on, and it is happening over and over again. You can see it in a video of Harry. He says, "I found the love of my life." But then he stops for a second. He looks very uncomfortable. You do not have to be an expert to see that he feels weird. You can just feel it when you watch him. It is a very strange pause. It makes you wonder what he was thinking in that moment. Andrew did not just lose his job, he lost everything. In late 2025, King Charles told him he could not be called a prince anymore. He also told him he had to leave his big house called Royal Lodge. Almost overnight, he went from being a very important person to just being a regular man named Andrew. All the special things he had were taken away. When someone loses that much power, they get very upset. People who work in the palace say things became very shaky. They claim Andrew knew a lot about Meghan years before she met Harry. He did not just hear rumors. He knew real facts about her job and the fancy people she spent time with. He knew how she moved in those rich circles. This news has made the people in the palace very frustrated and confused. Think about this very big secret. Back in 2016, the world found out that Harry and Meghan were dating. This was not an accident. A famous writer named Tina Brown said that someone working for Andrew told the newspapers. Why would they do that? Why would they tell a secret before the couple was ready? Many people think it was not a mistake. They think it was a warning. Andrew might have known that they both knew the same rich people. He might have wanted the secret out early for a reason. If you look at the timeline, it is very interesting. Meghan was going to very fancy events and working with important people long before she met Harry. At the same time, Andrew was going to those same places. They were in the same rooms at the same time. This makes people who study the royal family wonder a lot. Even if we do not guess too much, it looks very strange. There is another story that never felt right. Harry once said that when Meghan first met Andrew, she thought he was a servant. She thought he was just a man working at the house. But here is the big twist. Meghan was already best friends with Princess Eugenie. Eugenie is Andrew's daughter. How can you be best friends with a daughter but not know what her father looks like? That does not make any sense. People who talk about the royals have been arguing about this for years. Only makes sense if something else was happening that they did not tell us. If Meghan said she already knew Andrew, people would ask too many questions. They would ask, "How do you know him?" Or "Where did you meet?" She probably did not want anyone asking those things, so acting like she was confused might have been the safest thing to do. She wanted to act like he was just a regular face in the crowd, but the people working in the palace saw how awkward it was. They knew something was wrong right away. People close to Andrew said his team was very angry that she called him a servant. That anger never went away. This might be why Andrew's team told the newspapers about her and Harry later on. Things like that do not happen by accident. Some people think that Andrew and the Sussexes might tell all the family secrets. That is why the king tries to keep them close. It is like walking on a very thin rope. There are stories about a big meeting at a place called Balmoral. They are talking about what to do because of new books that were written. Some think these meetings are just for show and that nothing will really change. Let's look back at the years before Meghan was famous on TV. These were her mystery years. We do not know much about what she did then. People are still talking about it. She went to many fancy parties on big boats and in expensive houses. Online, people found old pictures of women on yachts with Prince Andrew. Some people thought Meghan was in those pictures. The palace acted very fast to stop people from talking. They said the women in the pictures were not Meghan. They looked at pictures from the year 2010 very closely. They tried to make the rumors go away overnight, but the strange part is how fast they tried to shut everyone up. They did not say anything out loud, but they made sure the newspapers stopped talking about it. Why were they in such a hurry to make people be quiet? Some think it was because they did not want people to find out about the rich people they both knew. When people get curious, they start to connect the dots. Once you start connecting dots, you find out things that the palace wants to keep hidden. A writer named Kirby Summers has written about how Meghan was at parties with very rich and powerful people. Andrew was also at these same kinds of parties. These groups of people are very small. Everyone knows everyone else. This is why people have been wondering for years if they knew each other. Did they have the same friends? Were they already connected before Harry showed up? These are the questions the palace hates. They have worked very hard to stop people from asking. Even though King Charles took away Andrew's titles, he is still being a little bit nice to him in private. He still talks to him and lets him have some help. This is strange because Charles usually protects the family very strictly. Taking away his name in public was easy, but being careful with him in private makes people wonder. Maybe Charles is worried about what Andrew knows. He might know things about Meghan and her friends that would cause a lot of trouble. He might know who knew what and when they knew it. There are people who are very angry about all of this. They say mean things and hope that Andrew feels bad when he walks down the street. They are very upset about who he is as a person, but there is another part to this story that is even hotter. People say Charles once said Meghan was like Sarah Ferguson. Sarah was also someone from outside the family that people loved at first, but then she had many problems. Did Charles see this coming? Did he know more than he said? A writer named Nigel Cawthorne says Charles knew there would be trouble long before Meghan joined the family. Charles has seen many scandals with Andrew and Diana. He knows how small problems can turn into big ones that the whole world talks about. Princess Catherine has been very quiet, too. She has not said anything about Harry and Meghan for a long time. She does not talk about them in public at all, but people close to her say she is worried. She is not just worried about the bad things Andrew did in the past. She is worried about Meghan's old friends in those fancy circles. Catherine thinks Harry should know the whole truth. She started feeling this way even more in late 2025. Some old papers about a bad man named Epstein came out. In those papers, Harry and Meghan's names were mentioned. They did not do anything wrong, but their names were used by people talking in the media. One email from 2020 talked about an article where Harry spoke about Andrew's bad friends. That one story was worth $4 million in news value. It showed that Andrew's problems and Harry's problems were stuck together. Then something happened that made everyone stop and look. In 2021, a lawyer for a lady named Virginia Gioffer said he wanted to talk to Meghan. He did not say she did anything bad. He just thought she might know about the people Andrew hung out with. Think about that. A lawyer for victims thought Meghan Markle might have secrets about Andrew's social life. That only makes sense if Meghan was in the same places as Andrew. The lawyer never got to talk to her. Maybe they settled the case quietly. But the fact that he asked stays on the record forever. It keeps the questions alive. Why would a lawyer think she knew anything unless there was a reason to believe she was there? The truth is very hard. Even if Meghan and Andrew did meet at parties before Harry, the palace can never say it. If they said it, they would have to admit they did not check her background well enough. They would have to admit the whole story was much more complicated than they said. Harry left his royal life and got into a big fight with his brother William and his father Charles. He might not even know everything about his wife's past friends. That is why the palace stays quiet. They only talk when they are forced to. They never answer the big question, did Meghan and Andrew know the same people before Harry? That silence is on purpose. Answering it would be like opening a door that lets out a flood. Let's go back to October 2016. Harry and Meghan had been dating for only 4 months. Harry wanted to keep it a secret. He wanted some time to be alone. Then all of a sudden, a worker from Andrew's house told the news. The headline was huge. It said Harry was dating an American actress, but the story was very nice. It said great things about Meghan and her help for poor people. It sounded like a fairy tale. This was not a mistake. It felt like someone wanted the world to know, but they wanted it to look good. The leak did not come from Harry. It came from Andrew's side. Why would Andrew's workers care about Harry's girlfriend? There are a few reasons why. Maybe someone wanted to control the story early. Maybe they already knew about Meghan from their rich friends, or maybe there is another reason we do not know yet. Tina Brown said the nice story was helpful, but the weirdest part is that it came from Andrew's house. This has never been explained. Imagine how Harry felt. He thought he met Meghan in a very simple way through his cousin Eugenie. He thought his family was just being mean or jealous. He did not know about the secret talks in the palace or the checks they were doing on her. He did not know his uncle's house told the newspapers about him. He did not know about the same rich friends. He did not know that lawyers thought Meghan might have secrets about Andrew. All of this was hidden from him. Everyone around Harry, like the guards and the helpers, chose to keep him happy instead of telling him the truth. No one wanted to ruin his joy. So Harry stayed happy and did not see the big picture, but other people did have the information. That is why William stayed away. That is why Charles was careful. That is why Catherine stayed very formal and did not get too close. They knew things that Harry did not know. In late 2025, Charles and Catherine had secret meetings. They talked about Andrew. They were not just talking about his old mistakes. They were talking about what he knew about these fancy social groups. This knowledge is what makes them scared. Charles is trying to find ways to keep Andrew quiet. He gives him a little bit of help so that Andrew does not get mad and start talking. It is not because Charles is being nice. It is because he wants to control him. Catherine wants to be even tougher. She thinks they should give him nothing. She thinks being nice to him just makes more problems later. She wants to protect the family, not feel sorry for him. William is stuck in the middle. He knows his father is being careful, but he agrees with Catherine that they must keep the doors closed before more damage happens. The stakes are very high. If Andrew ever told the truth about the friends he and Meghan shared, it would not just hurt Harry and Meghan. It would hurt the whole royal family. People would ask how they check the people who join the family. They would ask if the leaders are doing their jobs. That is why Charles wants to manage him. Catherine wants strong rules, and William is getting ready for bad news to come out. Andrew knows things that could break the royal story. So far, Meghan has said nothing about Andrew losing his titles. She has been very quiet. She has not talked about the Epstein papers. She has not talked about Andrew at all. This is very interesting because she usually likes to talk about big things and tell the truth, but with Andrew, she is silent. People think this is a plan. Meghan knows about the fancy circles they both lived in. She knows what questions the palace asked. She knows that if Andrew talks, many old problems will come back. People close to her say she is very worried. Behind the scenes, there is constant fear about what Andrew might say. They worry he will talk about the rich networks and who knew the secrets. Even small details could make people start looking again. Meghan cannot make Andrew do anything. He has already lost his names and his money and his house. You cannot scare someone who has nothing left to lose. That makes him very dangerous because nobody knows what he will do. The facts show that even before she was a star in Hollywood, Meghan was around very rich and powerful people. This is a normal thing for people in those circles. At the same time, Andrew was in those same circles. Their worlds touched many times. They saw the same faces and went to the same parties. It is very likely they saw each other many times over the years, even if they were not friends. When Meghan wanted to get closer to the royals, her friendship with Andrew's daughter Eugenie helped her meet Harry. Then, Andrew's house told the news about them for a reason we still do not fully understand. Then there was the time Meghan acted like she did not know who Andrew was. This made people in the palace very nervous. It made them wonder how much she really knew. They began to worry about the people she knew in the past. At that point, they could not stop the wedding without a very big explanation, so they let it happen but tried to fix things quietly. Now Andrew has lost everything. But the things he knows have not gone away. In fact, they are becoming more important every day. The people inside the palace are talking about how these social groups were much more complicated than we knew. Charles and Catherine are working very hard to keep everything under control, but it is impossible to stop the truth from coming out. When many people know the same secret, someone will eventually tell. The real question is not if Meghan and Andrew knew the same people. It seems very clear that they did. The real question is when the world will find out the whole story. Andrew has the details. The palace has done their research. Meghan is staying quiet on purpose so she doesn't have to answer hard questions about her past and the fancy people she knew. This story is definitely not over yet. There is much more that we are going to find out soon. When you think about a king, you think of a man who is very strong and knows everything that is happening in his kingdom. But King Charles is finding out that even a king cannot control everything. He is dealing with a family that has many layers of secrets. Some of these secrets go back many years. They involve people who are no longer in the family and people who are still there. The king has to balance being a father and being a leader. It is a very difficult job. He wants to keep his son Harry happy, but he also has to make sure the monarchy stays safe. If the public loses trust in the royal family, then the crown loses its power. This is why these rumors about Andrew and Meghan are so important. They are not just gossip. They are about the truth of how the family works. Princess Catherine is also in a tough spot. She's the one who will be queen one day. She wants to make sure that when she and William lead, there are no more secrets left to hurt them. She's a very smart woman. She sees that Andrew is a loose end that could trip them all up. She wants to be firm and clear. She does not want to play games. She thinks that the best way to handle a problem is to face it head-on. But the king is older and more cautious. He has seen how fighting can make things worse. This difference in how they think is causing tension in the palace. The workers in the palace, the people who wear the uniforms and carry the trays, they see everything. They hear the whispers in the hallways. They see the looks on the faces of the royals when the cameras are turned off. They are the ones who sometimes tell the secrets to the newspapers. They have their own reasons for doing this. Sometimes they think it is the right thing to do. Sometimes they are just unhappy. Whatever the reason, their voices are part of the story too. The leak from Andrew's house was a very big deal. It showed that not everyone in the family was on the same team. It showed that there were people who wanted to cause trouble for Harry and Meghan right from the start. Meghan Markle's journey is also very interesting. She came from America and became a princess. It sounds like a movie, but the real story is much more complex. She was a woman who worked very hard to be successful. She knew many people and traveled to many places. She was not a stranger to the world of the rich and famous. When she joined the royal family, she brought all of her history with her. Some of that history is what the palace is now worried about. They want to know every detail, but some details are hard to find. Prince Harry is perhaps the most tragic figure in this story. He just wanted to find love and have a family of his own. He thought he was doing the right thing by moving away. He wanted to protect his wife and his children. But in doing so, he has missed out on the conversations happening at home. He is not in the room when Charles and William talk. He is not there to hear the concerns about Andrew. He is living his life in California while the fires are still burning in London. He might one day wake up and find out that the story he believed was not the whole truth. That would be very painful for him. We must also think about the people of the country. They watch the royal family like they are watching a play. They want to believe in the fairy tale, but they also want to know the truth. When they hear stories about secrets and scandals, it makes them feel confused. They want to know that their leaders are honest. The royal family knows this. They know that they have to keep the people's respect. That is why they spend so much time and money on PR and media. They want to tell the story in a way that makes them look good. But in the age of the internet, it is very hard to hide anything for long. The Epstein files were a very big moment. They reminded everyone that the world of the very rich can be very dark. Even if the royals were not involved in the bad things, just being in the same room as people who were is enough to make people suspicious. The fact that Harry and Meghan's names appeared in those papers, even in a small way, is a big problem. It links them to a story that nobody wants to be a part of. It is a shadow that follows them wherever they go. As we move forward into 2026, the drama will continue. There will be more meetings and more secrets. There will be more stories in the newspapers. The royal family will try to stay strong, but the pressure is growing. Every time someone like Andrew or Meghan stays silent, it only makes people more curious. People will keep digging and keep asking questions. They will look at the old photos and the old timelines. They will try to find the truth that is hidden behind the palace walls. In the end, the story of the royal family is a story about people. They are people with big titles and fancy clothes, but they have the same feelings as everyone else. They feel fear and anger and love. They make mistakes and they have secrets. The only difference is that their lives are lived in front of the whole world. Every mistake they make is seen by millions of people. Every secret they keep is a story waiting to be told. The mystery of Andrew and Meghan is just one part of a much larger story. It is a story that has been going on for hundreds of years, and it is a story that is far from over. Think about the hallways of the palace at night. They are long and quiet. The king is in his office looking at papers. He is thinking about his family and his country. He is wondering what the next day will bring. He knows that there are things he cannot change. He knows that the past is always there, waiting to catch up. He is a man trying his best in a very difficult world. He wants to be remembered